Hello, sheeple. Bad influencer here. It's a Saturday night, the 30th of January, and I've got a bit of a investigation video for you. So I know it's late, but there'll be links in the description to the article that I'm going to peruse today. But it's all about the origins of COVID-19, which it throws up a lot of interesting facts. So there's a Democrat in America. So this isn't a Trump thing. His name's Jamie Metzl, and he works for he works. I'm not sure whether he's still involved with Joe Biden. So he's a libertarian Democrat. So he's not a fruitcake. And he's got a blog. And on the 25th of January, he published an article which I'm going to quickly run through, just to show you some salient bits of it. And plus there's a link in the description, so I urge you to go and read it. He provides all the links that he's researched. And it's a very, 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 very interesting document. So give me a second and I shall head on over. I'll see you in a second. Right, so here we are. This is the document. Like I say, he updated it. He's been adding to this document since April 2020. So I just thought we'd run through it because he's got a lot to say, which is credible. So basically, he's saying, he's saying that it's a accidental. He's got a fair bit of proof that it was an accidental leak from the Chinese Virology Institutes in Wuhan. And he's been making this claim consistently since January 2020 and will continue to do so until it gets the attention it deserves. We owe everyone who has died from COVID-19, all the people who have lost their loved ones and livelihoods, and future generations, a thorough, unbiased, and unrestricted investigation of how the tragedy began and has unfolded. Sounds fair enough to me. And he states here he does not believe this was likely a genome edited virus, although he does link to a paper on the blog that it could have been. And I've already done a video about how I think it could have spread from a purposely man-made virus via the World Military Games. You can look that one up if you want to have a look at that. Or say it's he is quoting a paper to say how it could have been and should not discount the possibility. So, because it's very likely been isolated and cultured in one of the Wuhan labs for whatever reason, the Wuhan CDC or more likely the Wuhan Institute of Virology. He wants to be clear that it's only highly informed inference based on publicly available information and his applications of Occam's razor and mathematical probabilities. I'm going to be getting into all of that kind of stuff in my degree. So it all sounds very interesting. He can't prove it, but this is a thesis. So, and it's in his view extremely convincing. And I must admit, I read it and I fully agree. I'm quite convinced. So he's claiming an 85% chance the pandemic started with an accidental leak from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and a 15% chance that it began in some other way. And there is and he quotes an article making the case for a zoonotic jump in the wild. So a zoonotic jump means from species to species, eventually ending up as a human. So, and he goes on to warn, if China keeps preventing a full and unrestricted international forensic investigation into the origins of the pandemic, I believe it is fair to deny Beijing the benefit of the doubt. There, he's saying it like it should be said. Right, so we're going to dip back into the past to 2012, and this is the first SARS virus. 6 miners working in a bat-infested copper mine in southern China, Yunnan province, were infected with a bat coronavirus. All of them developed symptoms exactly like COVID-19. 3 of them died. So viral samples taken from the Yunnan miner were taken to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, the only level 4 biosecurity lab in China that was also studying bat coronaviruses. The WIV carried out gain-of-function research, almost certainly on these and a range of related and other samples, which is different from genetically engineering the viruses. So basically, they've taken the virus that they found in one of the dead miners and sort of hit it with other viruses to see how it would react or evolve, rather than genetically changing it. Chimeric viruses were likely developed in this process. So for each virus they attacked the coronavirus sample, if that resulted in a virus, they'd call that a chimera virus. There's never been a full and public accounting for what the viruses are in the WIV sample set and database, and key elements of the database have been taken offline or deleted. So we shoot along now to late 2019. The SARS-CoV-2 virus, COVID-19, appeared in Wuhan. The closest known relative of this virus is the RATG13 virus sampled from the Yunnan mine, where the miners had been infected. So that's interesting. So he's saying that potentially they could have arrived at the COVID-19 virus. I won't keep saying SARS-CoV-2 by hitting the RATG13 virus with other viruses, and eventually arriving at a coronavirus. So they could have attacked it with SARS-1 and seen what the results were. And it's also plausible that the COVID-19 could have been among the viruses held in or derived from a different virus in the WIV repository. Well, that's what happens when you store viruses. So there was there was a cholera virus kept in a, as Carl Pilkington said, kept in a yogurt pot in a Cambridge lab, that got found. So they are stored. So for other reasons, but perhaps for trying to find cures and stuff. Right. So the Wuhan authorities worked aggressively to silence the whistleblowers and destroy evidence that could prove incriminating. Well, they seem to have been doing that all along. So, and then they faced the choice of implicating the Wuhan authorities or in effect taking blame for what was quickly emerging as a major global problem, or turning into the curve and going all in for the cover up. I think, yeah, like he says, I think that's what they did. So, and the Chinese government then massively lobbied the World Health Organization to prevent the World Health Organization from declaring COVID-19 as an international emergency, and prevented investigators from entering China for nearly a month. So, I mean, basically, the WHO are in China's pocket. They get a lot of their funding from governments such as China. So it's not that much of a leap to think that could have happened. Right, but although nothing can be fully conclusive in light of Chinese obfuscation, the continued absence of any meaningful evidence of a zoonotic chain of transmission and mutation in the wild, and the accretion of other evidence is pointing increasingly toward an accidental lab leak as the most likely origin of COVID-19. So I'm going to pick out a few other parts of this. This is a lot of wishy-washy to say, even if it's was an accidental leak, then we're all one humanity, which we aren't. So I do disagree with him here. There are some things that are too big to be forgiven. So and this is definitely it. So anyway, so he goes on. So the beginning of December 10th, 2019, increasing numbers of people, many of whom had visited the Hunan seafood market in Wuhan, fell ill due to a new disease. However, the novel coronavirus outbreak did not originate in the seafood market, and that's according to the Lancet. This was clear early on, but Chinese officials held to this story until late May 2020, when the evidence against this claim became wholly indefensible. The Hunan seafood market didn't have bats for sale, and most bat species in Wuhan would be hibernating at the time of the outbreak. It was reported that 34% of the cases had no contact with the market, and no epidemiological link was found between the first patient and later cases. According to a DIA report, about 33% of the original 41 identified cases did not have direct exposure to the market. That, along with what's known of the laboratory's work in the past few years, raised a reasonable suspicion that the pandemic may have been caused by a lab error, not the wet market. So he's going along the lines of it's an accident, right? But as you say, if you read the whole document, and if you know China, you know damn well that there's a perfectly legitimate stance of that you could take to say that it wasn't accidental. So this market is less than 9 miles away from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, as I covered in my own video earlier on. And it's developed chimeric SARS-like coronaviruses at that place. And they conducted dangerous gain-of-function research on the first coronavirus, that's the SARS one, some of which had been funded even by the US government. So that's interesting. So gain of function obviously is the way that they keep bombarding it with other different viruses and getting these chimeric viruses. So and as each one is produced, it creates a new function. And it's a 96.2% match from SARS-1 to SARS, and a virus they sampled from a cave over 1,000 miles away in Wuhan. So a 96.2% match. I mean, that's as good as there, isn't it? And that they injected live piglets with bat coronaviruses as recently as July 2019. And they published a paper on a close descendant of SARS-CoV-1 and MERS-CoV in November 2019. And they were hiring researchers to work on bat coronaviruses as recently as November 2019. So I bet someone they hired someone. Look, the military games. We just need someone to help us out. So, we want a go-getter. How do you feel about that? Something Kwong. Do you fancy the role? Yes. So, like I say, I mean, I'm not going to take up all your time with this. It's just really interesting. Right, yeah, and these other things, this laboratory's been accused of. It's once kept horseshoe bats, a known reservoir of the original SARS virus, within its lab. Performed surgery on live animals with its labs. Had a researcher who quarantined on 2 separate occasions. Once upon coming into contact with bat blood after being attacked, and another time when he was urinated upon in a cave while wearing inadequate personal protection. Now, I don't want to go into this guy's private life, but you can do what you want as far as I'm concerned, as long as you're not hurting anyone. But you got to question his ethics. If he goes into caves to get urinated on. I mean, I don't even know if that's is there a word for that kind of fetish? So anyway, so I am going to see if there's any. I think there was a couple of other points I wanted to make. But please read this document. It's so interesting. Like I say, I'll put the link in the description. And I say he puts all his sources in, so it's not as though it's he's plucked it out of thin air. But it's just fantastic. Some of the points that he's making. So, like I say, I'm going to go back now to the studio, and I'll close up. See you in a second. Right, welcome back. So yes, I believe that is one, very interesting, two, very informative, and three, pretty robust, really, when you take all things into account. So I'm putting this out there on the 30th of January. I'm saying that I agree with the inferences that Jamie Metzl has been making. I believe they're all fantastic points that he's raised. I disagree with him that it was an accident, but yeah, that's for another day. So, but I'm just saying, if it ever gets proven that it's not an accident, you heard it here first. So with that being said, I am going to go off, upload this video, and go and get some shut-eye. So this is Bad Influencer signing off. Take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you later. See ya.